On June 28, 2026, the IRS quietly published an official correction to its own Form 1099-B instructions, the form that determines when a dealer is required to report your silver or gold sale directly to the IRS. This is not a rumor. It is not a secondhand summary. It is posted directly on IRS Gov under the title Correction to the 2025 and 2026 Instructions for Form 1099-B. And what changed inside it is specific enough and important enough that every physical silver owner should understand exactly what it says before their next sale. Here is why this matters immediately. The correction rewrote the entire section governing sales of precious metals, removing an old example and replacing it with clearer, more specific language about exactly what triggers dealer reporting and what does not. It also introduced a brand new requirement, effective January 1st, 2026, about what information must be stamped on a silver or gold bar for that bar to even qualify as a reportable product in the first place. If you have ever assumed you knew the rule about which silver sales get reported to the IRS by your dealer, this correction is worth understanding precisely because the language just changed. Today, we're going to walk through exactly what the IRS corrected, what the new rule actually says about bars versus coins, the new physical marking requirement that took effect this year, and critically, what has not changed at all. Because this is exactly the kind of correction that gets misread as bigger news than it actually is if you are not careful about the details. By the time we are done, you're going to know 4 things clearly enough to understand your own next silver sale accurately. You will know exactly what the IRS changed in its June 28, 2026 correction, straight from the official document, not from a secondhand summary of it. You will know the precise 2-part test that now determines whether a dealer is required to report your sale on a 1099-B, and why that test explains something that surprises a lot of coin owners specifically. You will know about the new physical marking requirements for bars that took effect January 1st, 2026, and why a bar missing certain information does not qualify as reportable regardless of its size. And you will know, with complete clarity, what did not change in this correction. Because the most important rule in this entire topic remains exactly what it was before, and confusing that point is the single biggest risk of misreading this update. Before I go one more sentence, let me address the 2 thoughts that make people close a video like this one before it has a chance to help them. The first is, the IRS corrected a form. This sounds like a minor bureaucratic update, not something that actually matters to me. I understand that instinct, but this specific correction rewrote the operative language that determines whether your dealer sends information about your sale to the IRS at all. That is not a minor technical footnote for anyone who sells physical silver or gold. The second thought is, if the IRS changed the rule, maybe reporting requirements just got looser, and I have less to worry about now. I want to head this off directly because it is the single most important thing to understand correctly today. Nothing about your own obligation to report gains changed in this correction. The dealer side reporting trigger got clarified. Your obligation to report your own gains did not move even slightly, and treating this correction as a reason to worry less about your own filing would be exactly backwards. Stay with me. I say this at the start of every video, and I mean it every time. I am not a CPA. I am not a tax attorney. I am not your financial advisor. Everything you're about to hear is drawn directly from the IRS's own official correction, published on IRS Gov, along with the official instructions for Form 1099-B and verified secondary analysis of both. All sources are linked in the description below, so you can read the original correction yourself. Before you rely on any interpretation of this correction for your own tax situation, please confirm the specifics with a qualified CPA or tax professional. That conversation is worth more than any video. What I do here at the Silver Scenario is take official IRS documents that most people will never actually open and translate them into language you can use. Today's correction is a perfect example of exactly that kind of document. Genuinely important, genuinely official, and genuinely easy to misread if you only see a headline about it rather than the actual language. Let me introduce you to someone because a form correction explained in the abstract is hard to apply to a real sale. I want you to meet Frank. Frank is 70 years old, lives in Georgia, and holds a mix of American Silver Eagles and several 10-ounce silver bars, accumulated over about 15 years. Frank has always operated under a general, somewhat fuzzy understanding that small silver sales do not get reported to the IRS by the dealer, while large sales do. He has never actually read the specific rule, and he has no idea that the IRS just rewrote the language governing exactly where that line sits, including a brand new requirement about what has to be stamped on his bars specifically. Let's start with exactly what the IRS correction says, based directly on the official document. The correction, dated June 28, 2026, addresses page 5 of the 2025 and 2026 instructions for Form 1099-B, specifically under the section titled Sales of Precious Metals. The IRS removed a prior example from that section and rewrote the operative language governing when a dealer is required to file a Form 1099-B on a precious metal sale. Under the corrected language, a sale is reportable by the dealer only if two specific conditions are both met. First, the metal must be in a form that is approved by the Commodity Futures Trading Commission for delivery under a regulated futures contract. Second, the quantity sold must meet the minimum delivery amount specified by that particular futures contract. Both conditions have to be satisfied simultaneously. If either condition is not met, the dealer has no obligation to file a 1099-B on that sale, regardless of the dollar value involved. This two-part test explains something that surprises a lot of coin owners specifically, including Frank. CFTC-approved futures contracts for gold coins require a minimum of 25 coins to meet the delivery threshold for that specific contract. This means a single gold coin sale of any dollar value, even an extremely valuable rare coin, never triggers a 1099-B under this rule because it cannot meet the CFTC contract's minimum quantity requirement on its own. The same underlying logic extends to silver coins, including American Silver Eagles specifically. Silver coins of this type are not CFTC Regulated Futures Contract deliverable products at the quantities most retail sellers are transacting in, which means Frank's Silver Eagle sales fall outside the 1099-B reporting trigger almost entirely, regardless of how many he sells in a typical transaction. This is genuinely useful clarity for Frank because it confirms directly from the corrected official language something that was previously only understood informally. His coin sales are very unlikely to generate a 1099-B from his dealer under the CFTC link test, because coins simply do not fit the delivery specifications that CFTC futures contracts are built around. Now let's talk about the bars, because this is where the correction introduces something genuinely new, not just clarified, but new, for 2026. Starting January 1st, 2026, silver and gold bars must display specific information to even be considered a product that could meet the CFTC delivery specifications governing the reportable threshold. Under the updated requirements, a bar must show its weight, its fineness, a bar number, the month and year of production, and a brand mark. A bar that is missing any of these required markings does not qualify as a CFTC deliverable product under the applicable futures contract specifications, which means, under the corrected two-part test, that bar cannot trigger 1099-B reporting, even if the quantity sold would otherwise meet the delivery minimum, because it fails the first condition of the test entirely. For Frank, this means his 10-ounce bars need to be checked specifically against this new marking standard. If his bars display weight, fineness, a bar number, month and year of production, and a brand mark, they meet the specification for the type of product the CFTC test is built around, meaning the second condition, the quantity threshold, becomes the relevant question if he is selling a large enough amount. If any of his bars are missing one of these specific markings, an older bar, for instance, that only shows weight and fineness without a production date, that bar falls outside the reportable framework entirely under the corrected rule, regardless of quantity sold. This is a genuinely new, specific, and useful piece of information directly from the corrected IRS guidance, and it is exactly the kind of detail that gets lost when a story about this correction gets compressed into a vague headline instead of the actual language. Quick question, and I read every one of these. Before today, did you know that silver and gold bars now need to display specific information, including a production month and year, to even qualify as products the CFTC 1099-B test applies to? Type yes or no in the comments. Your answers tell me exactly how far this specific June 2026 correction has actually reached the people it affects. Now, let's talk about the 24-hour aggregation rule, because this is a piece of the framework that remains fully intact and matters for anyone thinking about how quantity thresholds get calculated in practice. If a customer completes multiple related sales to the same dealer within a 24-hour period, those sales are combined for purposes of testing whether the reportable quantity threshold has been met. This means Frank cannot sell a large bar position by splitting it into several smaller transactions within the same day, specifically to stay under a quantity threshold. The dealer is required to aggregate those related sales and evaluate the combined total against the applicable CFTC contract's minimum delivery amount. This aggregation rule is not new to this correction, but it remains a fully active part of how the reportable threshold actually gets applied in practice, and it is worth understanding alongside the corrected language, because a strategy of simply breaking up a sale into smaller pieces does not accomplish what some people assume it does. Now, the single most important thing in this entire video, and the point I want to state as plainly and directly as possible, because it is exactly where this kind of correction gets misread. None of what we have just covered changes your own obligation to report your gains to the IRS. This correction addresses only the dealer's side of the equation. Specifically, when a dealer is required to send information about your transaction directly to the IRS through a 1099-B filing. It says absolutely nothing about your own separate, independent, and unconditional obligation to report every taxable gain on your own tax return, whether or not any 1099-B was ever generated by anyone. Under longstanding IRS rules that this correction did not touch in any way, every taxpayer is required to self-report all capital gains on their annual return using Form 8949 and carrying the totals to Schedule D. This obligation exists completely independently of whether a dealer's 1099-B filing was triggered. If Frank sells American Silver Eagles that generate no 1099-B under the corrected coin rule, or sells older bars that are missing the new required markings and therefore also generate no 1099-B, his obligation to report the resulting gain on his own tax return is exactly as absolute as it would be if a 1099-B had been filed. The corrected language governs paperwork flowing from the dealer to the IRS. It does not touch, reduce, or modify Frank's own reporting duty in any way whatsoever. This is precisely the point where a headline like IRS changes silver reporting rule can be genuinely misread as silver sales are less taxable now, and that reading would be flatly incorrect. The correction clarified when a piece of third-party paperwork gets generated. It did not touch the underlying tax law governing what Frank owes, which remains the collectibles capital gains framework we have covered extensively on this channel, capped at a maximum federal rate of 28% for long-term gains under IRS Topic 409 and IRC Section 408M. If this distinction is landing clearly for you today, tap the like button right now. It tells the platform to put this video in front of other silver owners who might otherwise misread this correction as bigger or different news than it actually is. So what does all of this mean practically for Frank and for you before your next silver sale? For coins specifically, including American Silver Eagles and similar products, the corrected guidance provides direct official confirmation that these products generally fall outside the CFTC-linked 1099-B trigger at typical retail quantities because they do not match the delivery specifications that regulated futures contracts for coins are built around. This is useful, official clarity, but it changes nothing about Frank's own obligation to report any gain from those sales. For bars specifically, the new January 1st, 2026 marking requirement means Frank should actually look at his physical bars and confirm what information is stamped on them. A bar showing weight, fineness, bar number, production month and year, and a brand mark meets the product specification the CFTC test is built around, which means the quantity threshold becomes the operative question for that specific bar if Frank is selling in volume. A bar missing any of those markings falls outside the reportable framework entirely, regardless of how much of it Frank sells. For any large sale spread across multiple transactions in a short window, the 24-hour aggregation rule remains fully active, and Frank should not assume that splitting a sale changes how the threshold gets calculated. And for every single sale, regardless of what happens on the dealer's reporting side, Frank's own obligation to calculate his gain accurately and report it on Form 8949 and Schedule D remains completely unchanged by anything in this correction. The practical checklist here is straightforward. First, if you're planning to sell bars, physically check what is stamped on them against the 5 required markings: weight, fineness, bar number, production month and year, and brand mark, since that determines whether the bar even qualifies as a product this test applies to. Second, understand that coins like American Silver Eagles generally fall outside the CFTC delivery quantity framework at typical retail sale sizes based on the corrected language itself. Third, remember that related sales within a 24-hour window get combined for threshold purposes, regardless of how many separate transactions they are split across. And fourth, and by far most importantly, keep your own records of cost basis, purchase dates, and sale proceeds exactly as diligently as you would if you expected a 1099-B on every single transaction, because your own reporting obligation to the IRS has not moved by even a single word as a result of this correction. Before I let you go, one final question. Before today, did you understand the specific 2-part CFTC test that determines whether your dealer is required to file a 1099-B, the metal form and the quantity threshold both having to be met simultaneously? Tell me in the comments. Your honest answers help me understand exactly how far official IRS corrections like this one are actually reaching the people they affect most directly. If this video gave you the accurate, straight-from-the-source version of a genuine official correction rather than a compressed or misread version of it, hit subscribe. The next time the IRS quietly updates a form in a way that actually matters for silver owners, you will hear the precise language explained here at the silver scenario, checked directly against the official document. And send this to one silver owner you know who sells bars or coins and has never actually read the specific rule governing when their dealer is required to report that sale. Knowing the accurate rule protects you either way. Whether it turns out your sale is reportable or not, your own obligation to report it accurately never changes. I will see you in the next one. This video is for educational and informational purposes only and does not constitute legal, tax, or financial advice. The IRS correction to the 2025 and 2026 instructions for Form 1099-B referenced in this video was published June 28, 2026, and is drawn directly from the official document available on irs.gov, along with the official instructions for Form 1099-B. Reporting thresholds, CFTC delivery specifications, and bar marking requirements are subject to further clarification or change by the IRS. Regardless of whether a Form 1099-B is filed by a dealer, taxpayers are independently and unconditionally required to report all capital gains on Form 8949 and Schedule D. Please consult a qualified CPA or tax professional regarding your specific reporting obligations before selling precious metals.